I had just put our baby down when my mother-in-law walked in without knocking, looked around the nursery, and said, "We'll redo all this. The colors are depressing." I asked her to leave. She smiled and said, "Oh, honey, this house isn't yours." That night, my husband told me the deed was still in his parents' name, and my name had never been added. When I think back on it now, there were so many warning signs. I just didn't want to see them. I'm 33 years old, living just outside Austin, Texas. I met Rick at a friend's 4th of July barbecue. He made me laugh so much that night my stomach hurt. He was tall, easygoing, always knew the right thing to say. After a year of dating, we moved in together. After 2 years, we got married. Rick told me he had the perfect idea for starting our life together. His parents owned a house they weren't using anymore, and he said they wanted us to have it. A wedding gift, he called it. He said later down the line, once things were smoother, we'd do the paperwork to put it under our names officially. I trusted him. I trusted everything he said. We moved into the house a month after the wedding. It needed some updates, but it was solid. 3 bedrooms, a decent backyard, quiet neighborhood. I poured my heart into making it feel like ours. I painted the kitchen a soft green, planted flowers out front, bought curtains and rugs to make it warm. It felt like home. My home. A year and a half later, I found out I was pregnant. It wasn't exactly planned, but we were both excited. Rick hugged me so tight when I told him. He lifted me off the ground. His parents were thrilled too, or at least that's what I thought at the time. Doris, Rick's mom, started showing up constantly. At first, it seemed harmless. She brought baby clothes, stuffed animals, blankets. But then she started making little comments. "Oh, this kitchen is so outdated. We'll need to fix it up before the baby's crawling. This backyard is dangerous. We'll have to do something about it." I thought she was just being a typical, nosy mother-in-law. I laughed it off. I shouldn't have. The worst was the nursery. I spent weeks setting it up. I chose soft colors, pale blue and gray, because I wanted the room to feel calm. I hand-painted little clouds on one wall. I bought a rocking chair secondhand and refinished it myself. It wasn't expensive or flashy, but it was full of love. One afternoon, when the baby was about 6 weeks old, I finally got her to sleep after hours of rocking and soothing. I tiptoed out of the nursery and sat down for the first time all day. Then the front door opened. I jumped up, heart racing. Rick wasn't supposed to be home for hours. I heard heavy footsteps. And then Doris's voice. She didn't knock. She didn't call out. She didn't even hesitate. She marched right into the nursery, standing over my sleeping daughter. I rushed in, trying to keep my voice low. "Please, Doris." She just fell asleep. Doris didn't even look at me. She scanned a room with a disgusted face, like she was smelling something rotten. "We'll redo all this," she said, waving a hand. "The colors are depressing." I stood there, stunned, angry, humiliated. "Doris," I said, trying to stay calm, "you need to leave. Please." She turned to me and smiled, not a warm smile. A smile like I was a stupid little girl who didn't know anything. "Oh, honey," she said, voice thick with fake sweetness. "This house isn't yours." Then she brushed past me and walked out, like she hadn't just crushed me, with a single sentence. I sat down on the floor of that nursery and cried. Quietly, so I wouldn't wake the baby. That night, after I put the baby down again, I told Rick everything. He didn't seem surprised. That's when he finally admitted it. The house, the one I thought was ours, was still in his parents' names. Had been the whole time. He said he never started the process to transfer it. He acted like it was no big deal. We live here. That's what matters. I felt like the ground under me cracked open. All the memories I thought we were building, the holidays, the late nights, the plans for the future, suddenly felt fake. I was just a guest here. A tenant. I realized Rick had been lying by omission for years, letting me think I had a home, letting me think I was safe. And the worst part? He didn't even feel bad. He told me Doris had only our best interests at heart. that she was trying to help. Help by reminding me I had no rights here? No say? I looked at Rick that night and saw someone I didn't recognize. A boy who never grew up. A man who would always put his mother before his wife. I made a decision right then. I wasn't going to live the rest of my life under Doris's thumb. And Rick? He was about to find out exactly how it feels to lose everything you take for granted. After that night, something inside me snapped. I stopped pretending everything was fine. I started quietly gathering my things, packing little by little during the day when Rick was at work, hiding boxes in the back of the closets. But I didn't just plan to leave. That would have been too easy for Rick and Doris. No. I wanted them to feel what it was like to have your life turned upside down. First, I opened a new bank account, one Rick didn't know about. I started slowly moving money from our joint savings into it, just a little at a time, small enough amounts that he wouldn't notice right away. I had handled the bills and finances, so he never really paid attention. Second, I got a part-time remote job. Data entry. It wasn't glamorous, but it was enough to keep me afloat once I left. Third, I got legal advice. Turns out, Texas is a community property state, which meant even though my name wasn't on the deed, any money spent improving the house while we were married could count as my investment. And guess what? I had receipts for thousands of dollars in renovations, furniture, paint, landscaping. Rick thought he was so smart keeping my name off everything. He had no idea I could still come after him. While I laid my groundwork, Doris kept pushing. She started coming over almost every day, letting herself in, criticizing the way I dressed the baby, criticizing the way I cleaned. One morning, she showed up with paint samples and said, "We're starting on the nursery next week." I didn't even argue. I smiled and nodded. Let her think she was winning. Meanwhile, Rick got worse too. Distant. Snippy. If the baby cried at night, he complained about needing his sleep. He started spending more time working late, which meant drinking with his buddies or, sometimes, staying at his parents' house. I saw it all. I wrote everything down. Dates, times, what was said. Every visit, every insult, every time Rick left me alone with the baby for hours. I was building a case. Then, 2 weeks before I planned to leave, something happened that almost made me blow the whole thing. I came home from the grocery store and found Doris in the nursery, painting over my cloud mural. Not asking, not even telling me. She was just doing it. I stood there, bags of groceries slipping from my hands. When she finally noticed me, she smiled wide and said, "See, doesn't this feel lighter already?" I wanted to scream, but instead, I picked up the groceries, smiled back, and said, "It looks great, Doris. Thank you." Then I went into the bathroom and vomited from pure rage. That night, I moved up my timeline. I wasn't waiting anymore. I spent that night wide awake, staring at the ceiling, feeling the baby's small, warm body curled against me. It wasn't just about leaving anymore. I wanted to make sure when I walked out I left a crater behind. The next morning, while Rick was hungover on the couch, I took his laptop, the one he used for everything, and quietly copied every file I could onto a flash drive. Bank statements, emails, messages between him and his parents. I found things I didn't even expect. Turns out, Rick had been getting loans from his parents for years. Not just for the house. For his truck. For credit card bills. For gambling debts. I found emails from his dad threatening to pull the plug if Rick didn't get his act together. He wasn't just their puppet. He was owned by them. The next step was even riskier. I reached out to a real estate agent. A quiet, no-nonsense woman named Hannah. I told her everything. How the house was still in his parents' name, but how much money I had invested. She connected me with a lawyer. That lawyer sent a formal letter to Rick's parents demanding repayment for my financial contributions, or I would take them to small claims court. I attached every receipt, every photo of the renovations, every bank statement showing money coming out of our joint account. It wasn't a huge amount, about $30,000, but it was enough to scare them. They had other properties, a good reputation in their neighborhood. The last thing they wanted was a public fight over their perfect little son. They called Rick first, trying to get me to talk reasonably, begging for me to drop it. I didn't respond. The second twist came a few days later, when Rick's cousin, who I barely knew, reached out to me. She said she heard I was having problems with Rick and thought I should know something. She sent me screenshots, texts between Rick and another woman, sexual, graphic texts, and photos. It had been going on for almost a year, all through my pregnancy, all through the first weeks after the baby was born. I stared at the screen, feeling cold all over. That was it. That was the missing piece. It wasn't just disrespect. It wasn't just enabling his mother. Rick had been cheating on me the whole time, laughing behind my back, making a fool out of me while I built a home and carried his child. I wasn't just leaving anymore. I was going to destroy him. The next day, I put everything in motion. I waited until Rick was at work. Then I packed what was left, the baby's things, my clothes, important papers. I didn't take furniture. I didn't want anything they could claim was theirs. I left a letter on the kitchen counter. Short. Brutal. It said, "Rick, you lied to me about the house. You let your mother walk all over me. You used me. You cheated on me. You don't deserve a wife or a family. The house you cared about so much, it's yours now, along with the debt, the mess, and the shame. My lawyer will be in touch. Enjoy cleaning up your own life. Mommy won't be able to fix this one." I took a picture of the letter sitting on the kitchen counter and sent it to him right after I drove away. I moved in with a friend an hour away in a small apartment. It wasn't fancy, but it was mine. Mine and my baby's. That same day, my lawyer filed papers demanding repayment from his parents, plus a lawsuit for damages tied to Rick's infidelity and financial deceit. I had the screenshots. I had proof of every dollar I put into that house. Rick's parents panicked. They tried to offer a small settlement at first, $5,000 and a let's keep it quiet letter. I refused. Word started spreading in their social circle. About Rick cheating. About the lawsuit. About how the perfect family had lied and manipulated and used me. Turns out, Doris cared about her reputation more than anything. She begged me to meet her for coffee. I did, but not to make peace. I sat across from her, stared her right in the face, and said, "You should have stayed out of my house, Doris. Now you don't even have a daughter-in-law to bully." Then I stood up and walked out, leaving her sitting there, red-faced and shaking. Rick tried everything. Crying, begging, threatening, promising to do better. Promising that he'd really put the house in our names this time. I blocked him everywhere. The court case dragged for months, but I didn't back down. In the end, the judge ordered Rick and his parents to pay me back every cent I had spent, plus an extra $10,000 for damages and emotional distress. Rick lost the house too. His parents, tired of the bad press and lawsuits, sold it out from under him. They used the money to pay the judgment. He ended up couch surfing with friends, working a dead-end job, and blaming everyone but himself. Doris and her husband moved out of town to start fresh. Last I heard, they were renting a tiny condo in a retirement community where no one knew them. Me? I got a clean start. My own place. My own job. My daughter safe and growing up surrounded by real love, not lies. It took everything I had to walk away. But it was worth it. Because in the end, they didn't just lose a house. They lost me. And once you lose someone who gave you every chance, there's no getting them back.